The National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, NIFLA, and two pregnancy care centers are challenging Vermont state officials for unconstitutionally restricting the center's speech and provision of services. Alliance Defending Freedom attorneys have filed a federal lawsuit on behalf of NIFLA and the two centers. In May, Governor Phil Scott signed SB 37 into law, impeding the ability of pro-life pregnancy centers to continue providing help and support to Vermont women and families. The law censors the center's ability to advertise their services and prohibits them from offering even non-medical services, information, and counseling unless provided by a licensed healthcare provider.
Alliance Defending Freedom's legal counsel, Julia Payne, said women who become unexpectedly pregnant should be empowered with life-affirming options, emotional support, and practical resources. Vermont's law does the opposite. It impedes women's ability to receive critical services during a difficult time in their lives and suppresses the free speech rights of faith-based pregnancy centers. Pregnancy centers should be free to serve women and offer the support they need without fear of unjust government punishment.
We have Julia Payne with us tonight, along with a very special woman who has testified in this case about her experience as a human trafficking survivor. Jean Marie Davis went on to become the first Black female pregnancy center director in Vermont. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Well, so before we get into the case, Jean Marie, you mentioned in an opinion piece that your story puts the lie to this narrative and proves the beautiful truth of your work. Would you please share with us the abuse you endured during the 27 years you were trafficked and what led you to a pregnancy center for help?
Well, because of the fact that I dealt with being threatened to be murdered or raped or abused over the years, whether it was people who were close to me or people that were my traffickers or the people that were paying for their services, I ended up pregnant and I didn't want that life anymore. And so I ran for my life. Knowing that people wanted to kill me. And when I went into a pregnancy center in New Hampshire, the women there shared Jesus with me and also gave me the opportunity to hear the heartbeat of my child. And for that, that's when I decided to change my life, to have the opportunity to have my child.
Well, your story is so moving, and now you're the director of Branch's Pregnancy Resource Center in Brattleboro. How did that come about?
Well, while I was at the hospital, working at the hospital in the HR department, I felt the urge and the need to help women that were like me, trying to get help in any type of way. So I decided to really see how I can get involved, and I had the opportunity to to be handed a application for this the center here at Brattleboro. And when I was allowed to come on board, we have done amazing things. We have programs for women who have had abortions and need support after that decision. And we have women who come in and families that need diapers, formula. We also have a program for women and men and children who have been victims of human trafficking or domestic violence.
Wow. Well, let's fast forward to the case against the state of Vermont. Julia, will you please tell us what led up to the lawsuit?
Defending Freedom represents branches along with one other Vermont pregnancy center and the National Institute for Family and Life Advocates, which is a national organization of pregnancy centers. And we are challenging a Vermont law that explicitly targets pro-life pregnancy centers. It only applies to those that do not provide or refer for abortion. And that law restricts the center's ability to advertise their services and to serve the women who need their help.
So what are you looking for in the lawsuit?
We're looking for the court. We're asking the court to stop the law from being put into effect. And so we're doing that on two grounds. One is that the law discriminates against the center's free speech and that's prohibited by the Constitution. And then the other is that the Constitution also prohibits laws that are too vague, that don't give the pregnancy centers enough guidance on what is and is not allowed.
Well, Jean Marie, you testified about your experience before the Vermont Senate. What was that like?
It was frustrating to see how the state of Vermont is so pro-abortion agenda to where they would force their agenda of making us have to follow what they say in a way where we would be fined $10,000 if we mislead, even to the point where one of our centers in Vermont is called Women's Center, and that they say is misleading, and we could be fined for just that. And then not only that, but the fact that they're targeting pro-life organizations that are not supporting their agenda for pro-abortion. It really disturbed me when I was testifying before the senators.
Are you hopeful that you're going to win this case?
Oh, not just hopeful, but I know that we're going to win this case because the truth will be shown on how we are here to help women with their choices and giving them the options to choose and not just not going along with what the government is pushing for this pro-abortion agenda. But we are very excited knowing that the truth and what we truly do of helping women, men, and children to make a better life for them.
So if the court does rule against you, Julia, what recourse, if any, do you have?
Well, there's a U.S. Supreme Court case. Alliance Defending Freedom represented California pregnancy centers, and the U.S. Supreme Court said that those centers should be free to serve women without fear of unjust government punishment and without discriminatory restrictions on speech. And so we're hopeful that that case will serve as precedent and will lead us to victory here.
Great. Well,
Awesome.
before we say goodnight, Jean Marie, where can our viewers go to find out more about branches?
Well, there's a few places. You could go to www.branchesprc.com and you can check us out on our website, or you could go to our Facebook or Instagram links on social media and follow us there.
I'd also like to add that you can go to adflegal.org to learn more about the case.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, Julia and Jean Marie, thank you for taking the time to join us tonight and for sharing your amazing journey from being trafficked to saving lives. And we just really appreciate it. So thank you and good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you for having
Look forward
us.
to having you back on when you've won the case.
Yeah.
Thank you.